Og godmorgen. I dag spiller vi et Stanley Parable eller et eller andet spil. Jeg hørte det var et spil, der gik ud på at træffe nogle valg. Og så har jeg set lidt af Let's Play. Lad med den. Og så tænkte jeg, det kunne fandme selv være sjovt at prøve, så gad jeg ikke at se mere, fordi lad være med at afsløre hele spillet. Men for at gøre det endnu mere interessant, så vil jeg træffe nogle modsatte valg af, hvad han har gjort. Altså det, jeg så i starten. For på den måde så finde ud af et eller andet.
This is the story of a man named Stanley.
Der er danske undertekster på.
Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard.
Gibocraft cup.
Orders came to him
Always.
through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month.
Og selvom andre måske havde tænkt det som sjælsopslidende, Stanley nød hvert sekund, når ordrene kom ind, som om han var blevet lige lavet præcis for dette job. Så han var blevet lavet på det. Og Stanley var glad.
And then one day something very peculiar happened. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened. This complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Nu kan jeg faktisk bevæge mig. Kan vi ikke lige indstillinger? Tastaturmus. Skru lidt op for den sensitivity der. Og vi skal lidt mere op for den sensitivity, tak. Standard. Ups, sådan der.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
Hvor er han?
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Nope. Hvad er han? Der er en åben der. Der er en åben der. Løb. Nu kommer vi til det her rum, hvor der er to der.
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Okay. Vil jeg ham styre den her gang? Lad os se, hvad der sker.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Wow. Jeg skal op på lukkedøren lige.
Coming to a staircase,
hey!
Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Jeg kan gå nedad. What's down here?
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished. His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all. None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? These rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream. Stanley felt.
Men I går tilbage.
He found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this.
Det her er meget forvirrende. Jeg bliver mindfucked. Har ikke været her et par gange nu.
And began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun. And Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought.
Det en uendelig bane, det her.
It all very odd, and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams. The truth was that this was not a dream. How could it be?
Helt seriøst.
Simply deceiving himself, believing that if
okay, jeg går ikke længere nu, før han er selv færdig.
Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life.
Come on.
Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He was in control. This was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over.
What the fuck?
Let me go back to my job.
Det er mindfucking.
Continue pushing the buttons. Please. It's all I want. I want my apartment, and my wife, and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal.
Det skal nok gå. Jeg er normal. Miljø er normal. Det skal nok gå. Ja, okay.
Stanley began screaming. Please!
Hela hjälp! Väck mig! Vi lärde Stanley hans chef! Jag kan ta, jag vill inte bli spejlad. Bestämmer jag inte. Jag var väg. Jag var med det här. Nu kan jag bestämma mig.
And everything went black.
Seriöst?
This is the story of a woman named Mariella.
Va?
Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't.
This is fucked.
It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day. The very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
What?
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
Okay,
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps
I got a new chance.
memo.
Okay, lad os skynde os den her.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Hvad fanden? Jeg er lige død.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming to a staircase,
Vi gør ikke noget af den her gang. Nu går vi op.
Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Ind her.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life.
Der er ikke nogen.
Unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held from him? What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number. 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
To 845.
Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs. Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never possibly know that the combination was 2845.
2845. Pengeskabet.
2845.
2845.
Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the
What the fuck?
code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
What? Wow. Sejt. Hvad er den her vej? Okay, vi skal den vej, kan jeg regne ud. Stor knap. Vi klikker på den store røde knap. Nu går jeg galt. Klikker på den igen. Jeg er færdig. Det lyder med chef, så jeg bare render random rundt og jagter ham. Stadig ikke stalker.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his
What the fuck, det går stærkt det her. Prøv lige at se, hvor hurtigt det egentlig går nedad.
It had never occurred to him. This question would not go unanswered for long.
Det er skræmmende.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the
Mind
large door
control.
that read Mind Control Facility.
Jeg ved ikke. Løb! Løb!
Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death.
Okay, jeg går tilbage. Jeg går tilbage.
But of course, Stanley thought better of it and realized he simply had too much to live for.
Hey! Jeg ved igen! Fuck mit liv.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens.
Wow,
What horrible
fuck.
secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
Jeg ved ikke det her.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed.
Ej, fuck.
Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen.
Ej.
Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
For helvede. Det skal blive syg af det her.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been in someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly?
Det er sygt oven i hovedet. Måske skulle jeg have taget escape-vejen.
He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never.
Never!
Unthinkable.
Aldrig!
Was it
Wow,
even possible?
spyttede lige.
Had he truly spent his
Lækkert.
entire life utterly
Ew.
blind to the world? But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy or sad or
Click,
content.
click,
Walking,
click, click,
eating,
click.
working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past
Hvad gør den
began
røde
to
knap?
set in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Okay. Vi kan også vælge at gå derop. 5. Jeg tror vi går ovenpå først. Det giver ikke nogen mening, hvorfor der er en nummer. Okay, lad os gå ovenpå. Hvad er der heroppe? 4. Kan vi komme der? Pis. Jeg tror bare vi skal den vej, Ben. Okay, vi går den vej. Han vinder. Lad os gå den vej. Drej. Jeg kan stadig nå tilbage. Hey, det skulle da kontrolpanelet.
And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for.
Jeg kan vælge 2. Jeg er stadig i live.
Blackness and a rising
Wow, der er mørkt.
chill of uncertainty. Was it over?
Jeg kan næsten ikke se noget. Jeg kan se der er noget her.
Yes.
Fuck.
He had won. He had defeated the machine.
Hvad er det der?
Unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And
Hvad er det her?
even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or...
Frihed! Fugle! Fugle!
It will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door.
Det kan jeg ikke. Den er ikke åben, fortæller du lyver.
Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin. The feeling of liberation.
Okay, nu kan jeg ikke styre.
Possibility of the new path.
Hvorfor tager du magten over min krop?
This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen.
Why do you think?
Stanley was happy.
Stanley var glad. Seriøst? Okay, vi prøver en gang mere, så har vi et andet valg end det vi har valgt.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Jeg bliver så fucked og mindfucked alt det her hver gang. Så var der mange flere ting, man skulle vælge.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's.
Jeg har været nedad. Nu går vi opad.
Stanley walked upstairs to
Igen.
his boss's office.
Så tager vi escape-vejen den her gang.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What could it mean? Stanley wondered aloud to nobody. He began wildly tearing. Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he didn't even have a single minute to just let the narrator talk. That kind of anxiety isn't healthy, so he relaxed for a few moments with some calming New Age music.
Fair. Oh yeah.
Feeling soothed and rejuvenated, Stanley calmly walked forward into the passageway.
Yay, tak. Jeg kan mærke, at han bliver kørt lidt sur. Vi går nedad. Jeg tænkte, hvis man lige kunne nå ud, det havde faktisk været godt. Bare lige sådan, haha. Okay. Så er vi hernede igen. Nej, det gør vi ikke. Vi går den vej. Og uanset hvad du siger nu, så får... I don't care. I love it. I love it.
The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track.
Wow, lang gang.
At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
Der er ikke nogen. Det ser skummelt ud. Hvis jeg dør nu, så... Fuck! Hvad der? Nej, 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 nej. Fuck! Jeg er tilbage! Fuck! Nej, 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 nej. Fuck! Lad være, nej! Seriøst, det mener du ikke? Oh, fuck! Jeg er så død, 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 jeg er så død.
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly.
What?
And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish?
What? Hvorfor er det en kvinde, der læser det pludselig?
When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
Okay, let's see. My office. Going down. What the fuck? Det er det mærkeligt. Okay. Det her, det er mærkeligt. Okay. Ja, det er bare sådan en show bank. Okay. Hvorfor er det, jeg ser alt det her? What can I use this for? Nu bliver jeg meget, meget forvirret. Jeg er ikke lige... Okay, hvor er jeg henne lige nu? Nu tabte jeg helt. Okay. Er det sådan minderum, hvor jeg kan se mit liv? Okay. Kan ikke åbne nogen af dem. Du. Sådan der. Okay, vi prøver at gå op, og så finde det der rum, hvor der også stod det Stanley Parable. Igen. Hvad der er derinde? Okay. This is weird. Okay. Jeg er helt fucked lige nu. Lad os prøve at finde det der rum igen, og så gå ud. Der må være noget andet her i spillet. Spillet kan ikke bare være slut, som jeg er død. Du modsiger dig selv, Ben. Du er død, men spillet kan ikke være slut. Ved du noget?
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free.
Jo, hvad lavede jeg nu?
Can you see? Can you see how much they need one another? No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen.
Det er lidt mærkeligt.
But listen to me. You can still save these two. You can stop the program before they both fail.
Bare ikke igen.
And press quit. There's no other way to beat this game. As long as you move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path. Stop now and it'll be your only true choice. Whatever you do, choose it. Don't let time choose for you. Don't let time...
Au. Oops. Black screen totally. Hvad venter vi på? Jeg ved det ikke. Jeg går helt død. Jeg kan ikke gøre noget nu. Der er bare gået helt sort. Jeg tror, jeg skal gå til begynde spillet igen. Okay. Nu gider jeg ikke mere. Eller jeg har altid lige tænkt på, at jeg ville prøve en mulighed mere. Og så er det seriøst closed off this time. Så håber I har nyttet sig med. Now we're going to make the suicide going.
Stanley came to a set of two.
Nej.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Ja, hvor er det smukt.
Yes,
Smukt.
a room worth admiring. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Nej.
Stanley was so bad
Ja,
at
den er vej.
following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. But in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death. Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful.
Tak. Okay, nu er det slut. Håber jeg nytter så med at klikke like, hvis I kunne lide det. Link en kommentar med et nyt spil eller et eller andet. Bare link en kommentar. Del den med jeres venner. Tag den som foretrukken. Fortsat god dag, god morgen. Og hej.